is Eric McLeod.
And I'm Chris Holden.
And this is LowBlowRadio podcast. It is Thursday, August 27th, 2020. We're all over the place. AEW is on a different night. It always makes things a little bit weird for us, but we're back here for a blow-by-blow of AEW Dynamite. Chris, how did you enjoy the show tonight?
It was fine. It didn't blow me away as the best episode ever. It's not our go home to the pay-per-view, so it didn't have to be. I think it's the perfect timing to put in this kind of show. Plus, we're garbled all over the place with the friggin' schedule, right? Thanks, basketball again. So, yeah. But for a Thursday night Dynamite, it was fine.
Yeah, I think we started off hot, especially with like a match as well as storylines and things going on, and then a lot to sort of live up to throughout the night when you start off that kind of rambunctious and big. And AEW's definitely fallen into that pattern before, where they really try to draw you in with their biggest, hottest angles and that kind of stuff early on, rather than leaving stuff for later. And sometimes it can affect a card a little bit, and I felt a little bit of that here. Maybe that's just more my personal interest in more of the early stuff that was going on than later on. A lot of that just seemed like stories that were just sort of, figuring themselves out for either all out or ending, right?
We said exactly the same thing a few weeks ago, that you start with a real frantic pace, and that's the only problem is you've set the pace. So now the rest of your show has to keep up for that. And by the end of the night, I mean, aside from the very end, I thought the close of the show was, more than lukewarm. So it was okay to finish it. It was a good close, but yeah, it was a bit of a grind getting there through some of the last hour.
Well, fair enough. No, we can certainly get to that when we will. So we kicked off tonight with Chris Jericho joining us on commentary. Once again, a sort of mix-up on commentary team. We haven't quite got back to our normal settings. I don't officially know what's kind of going on with the team right now. We were sort of supposed to be getting Excalibur back, but we don't really know what's going on there yet, but we'll wait and see. We had Chris Jericho, Tony Schiavone, and JR, who we've heard before. I think it works better when it's Jericho and Schiavone without JR, though. I think JR is struggling sometimes to find his place, to either not be too intrusive and just, have those highlight moments. And he's sort of, stepping on his own toes as well as the others at this point.
Yeah, it took a while for the rhythm to set in with him and Excalibur and Tony. And you could tell there was disruption the first couple weeks with Taz. I felt that they were finding a rhythm and a groove. I really enjoyed the work of the three of them last week. So it was disappointing on the one hand to see Jericho back in the booth this week. And I love his work on commentary. He's entertaining himself. But I think he tries to pop the other two a lot with a lot of references that drag them out of the action and away from the match. And Schiavone can play it both ways, but then JR seems to get lost a bit. And he also seems to be willing to play into this, I'm the old timer, I'm the okay boomer JR, and I know I make mistakes, and that's just, you're like it or you don't, it's JR now. And I don't know, it's a little bit too rustic for me.
No, for sure. When he gets too lackadaisical like that, it feels like he doesn't care about the product. And if they're the ones that are selling it to the crowd, right? As much as I'm invested and I'm into it, if you have a commentator that doesn't feel as invested, if he's forgetting names, forgetting moves, forgetting, the sort of match itself, it just doesn't,
calling the champion the wrong champion.
Yeah, it's the little things where it's like you're the one that's supposed to be driving the story, helping the people along who haven't been paying attention, that kind of stuff. Where I find I could watch it in silence, but without the commentary. But it is so much necessary to have as well, and especially if it's flowing properly. So I think they're struggling still again to find the proper dynamic on the commentary team, and hopefully we can get back to something a little more solid soon. But kicking off tonight, we had the big gauntlet tag team matchup that was announced last week with the Young Bucks starting off taking on the Natural Nightmares. Interesting that they were starting with this match. What did you make of that to kick things off here?
Yeah, because it's such a hot angle and such a great action match. But I don't know where you do place it, looking at the rest of the card and the way the night broke down. I don't know, maybe switching hour 1 and 2 and having the other 4-man match or the other 8-man tag, the 8-man tag in this spot instead of the gauntlet tag match. Maybe
I would have almost put the main event here. It didn't feel main eventy enough to be like in the spot that it was. Like they've had that big story between Matt and Sammy, but I felt like it had sort of obviously escalated to this tables match, and then it could have certainly kicked the night off. Like it seemed like the hottest thing coming off of last week and the week prior, other than the stuff that of course they're building. But if they were just going to jump right into something, I get if you wanted to open with a nice half-hour solid slot like this, that the tag thing was the thing to draw the eyes and get people invested in the television show and that kind of thing as well. So sometimes it's hard to sort of decide where to throw something on the card here.
I guess that's probably part of it, is because you've got angles that played out because of this match.
Yeah.
If you run this match as the close of the show, now those angles are next week.
That's right.
So you cost yourself 3, 4, 5 minutes that you're going to have to find something else anyway. And we did have practically every other all-out story on the card, right? So I guess I totally agree with you. I think that would have probably been the better choice of it for a match, because as you get a nice hot open still drawing people in for the rest of your show, but it's at the expense of where the story took us from this, right? So I could only see that.
No, for sure. I think that's definitely the reason for it taking place where it did. But yeah, Natural Nightmares doing what they could with the Young Bucks, but they had a real sort of hot open. Dustin tried to slow them down when he could, but they were really using the tandem offense to get the advantage in this matchup, showing their expertise and fast skill set, definitely outshining the Natural Nightmares here.
Yeah, that was the story I took from this, was they're the better team of the two.
Yeah.
Natural QT's a developing talent, and Dustin Rhodes is the veteran. And these are not championship caliber material team. That's kind of where I took it as being.
Yeah,
which I think is what they want to portray it as. I don't think these are supposed to be seen as unlucky megastars right now. So.
No, for sure. I think they've been doing great getting themselves to this top slot as well. And then, when you start sort of teaming the top contenders against each other, this is the kind of matchups you end up getting. And when they know they have a gauntlet coming up, they are just trying to, both teams trying to win as quickly as you can here, because you don't want a big, long, grueling night to go ahead. So, yes, the Young Bucks got the win over the Natural Nightmares here, looking really strong. The Shin music to drop QT, and then that brutal BTE trigger. That's just they're just so creative and fantastic with these new finishers. This one is just another one in the repertoire that I'm really, really enjoying.
Yeah, that was a nice finish to it. Then they got the Best Friends came in next to challenge against the Bucks.
Yeah,
keep the gauntlet rolling. And I thought this was a really good match. We once again saw the best of the Best Friends as far as their tag team wrestling goes. There's so much more than a comedy act. And they've done a good job at showing us that and telling us that over the last month, with the way that they've reacted with the Inner Circle storyline and the matches they put on with that. So, I think that this has been something brewing, that they're supposed to be seen as something more than just eye candy.
I think for sure. I think you have the jokey side, but then, when they get in the ring, they show they can really take it serious, and that the joke isn't always sort of their the thing that cost them the wins or that kind of thing, that they are just a legit tag team here and doing their best to sort of get what they could over the Young Bucks, trying to get the advantage early on, obviously, because the Bucks had already just had a match, did what they could to kind of work over Nick Jackson early on. Big nasty spear from Trent to kind of get the advantage rolling for the Best Friends. They worked Nick over quite well. He got that really nasty apron suplex though onto
German
Trent.
apron on Trent. Yeah.
That was.
The only thing that bugged me on that, Jericho taking pains to point out it's the hardest part of the apron. Like, I haven't heard that every time 6 times a week on WWE programming since they started doing apron moves.
Yeah.
And I wondered if that wasn't his first of a few subtle digs of the night, to point it out when he knows full well that's always mentioned. So, I thought that was kind of funny, but.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely seemed like more about, Jerichoism at this point, with his sort of strange cadences here on comedy, trying to find his place, throwing the bit of the jokes in there, and then trying to get the Jericho character over as well. Then the biggest kind of story of this matchup, the Young Bucks seem to kind of be getting their momentum back, getting the advantage going. They were setting up for either an indie taker or a Meltzer driver, when all of a sudden we get Hangman Page showing up on the apron.
Which, I did not see this coming. I mean, I guess as a part of you that thinks maybe I was so sure we're going to get the Bucks versus FTR to close this gauntlet match with a tired Bucks team having to succumb to FTR.
Yeah.
I expected it, but it really didn't question myself that maybe that doesn't make a lot of sense, and it is too soon to get these two against each other. And I want to see them fresh in the match against each other for the first time.
I was just like, I was even almost more happier that it happened now. I was like, yes, this gives the best friends a bit more of a rub moving forward, as well as we could finally just keep savoring when are we going to get FTR and the Young Bucks finally against each other. And I'm glad it wasn't just in a quick little 5-minute part of a gauntlet kind of situation. That we're just going to get it more as a legit match, or the build's just going to keep going here, and that's kind of what we got here. Hangman Page showed up, held Nick Jackson's leg, so he was not able to get in the ring, and Trent was able to reverse Matt inside the ring and get the 1-2-3 for them to get the win. Hangman looking very upset with himself, sort of distraught and disheveled, very guilty and guilt-ridden, and sort of, you know, torn with himself, but there's obviously some very deep-seated reasons to his costing the Young Bucks of this match, and they were understandably so very upset with that. Hangman Page.
Yeah, which, I mean, and we can talk about the interaction with him later on, and with the Bucks when they came back. We got FTR came into the ring now to take on the Best Friends in the close of the gauntlet, and it was what's becoming a standard FTR performance. I think they're a dominant looking tag team that work tag team wrestling well. They know how to do moves well. Their timing's impeccable.
Absolutely. I think the total in a nice way, but the opposite of what you were just seeing from the Young Bucks, Natural Nightmares and Best Friends earlier on. Maybe not so much Natural Nightmares, but especially Best Friends and Young Bucks, just the faster pace, the bigger move set, that kind of creativity and that kind of stuff, whereas they just ground this fight to a halt, did everything to just work Trent's leg to just, you know, focus on a particular body part to then implement some type of finish to get them over. They didn't bother with any of the flair, the glitz and glamour. They knew if they just won this gauntlet, they were getting tag team title matches, and they just did. They didn't worry about, you know, big flourishing tag team offense, tandem moves or anything like that. They just grinded Chuck to a halt here and forced a tap that I think was just showing that other side of them, that they just have that more, like serious side in the ring. They understand that other part of wrestling and that kind of stuff. So in a totally different offensive side of things than what you got earlier on from the last two teams. So
no flips, just fists.
Absolutely. I think great showing for FTR, looking really, really, really strong going into All Out. And really, really excited for this matchup. Oh, man.
Yeah, for sure. And again, more intrigue in what is going on with Page and the Bucks and that whole storyline. So then we got Lance Archer, who was 12-1 coming into the match. We're told he's the number 2 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. What is it, Aluna he was facing? I didn't get the full name of the guy, or was it just Aluna?
I think Maluna, something like that.
Maluna? Okay.
I'm not sure if the name
He got
changed.
crushed. It doesn't really matter what his name. It doesn't matter what his name is.
No,
it was a squash and a half.
That's right. He was debuting as an enhancement talent here in AEW. I'd have to look it up for sure, but I'm pretty sure I'm familiar with him from the Cruiserweight Classic in WWE, as well as some other Cruiserweight NXT type stuff early on, never really getting any momentum. But they mentioned his sort of relation to the other Samoan lineage and that type of stuff. So, a sort of historied guy here. Could be a fun sort of enhancement guy. But yes, he was just sort of brought in this match to be thrown around by Lance Archer. Lance came out hot, smashing people in the crowd like he always does. Jake just, sweating buckets, trying to keep himself together on the outside, while Lance just tore it into Maluna here. It was about a quick 3-minute match. He just, some little bit of comebacks from Maluna, but only basically to get Archer more and more pissed off, to eventually, Lance some pretty devastating moves, eventually getting the blackout and then the EBD claw for the finish. I want to see Lance in something bigger, but I'm glad to finally see him off dark a little bit and back on the main show.
Oh, yeah, I was really happy to see him on the show, and the presentation of him is perfect in this kind of squish thing. Then it was like the first kind of sour spot of the night for me. Taz came out with his guys, and I love Jake the Snake Roberts. It's one of my favorite photographs is me with Jake the Snake Roberts. I love Jake the Snake Roberts. But his first week, his first promo with that live mic with Cody was spectacular.
Yeah.
And we haven't had that Jake since that first week. And tonight, Why was he calling them the Flintstones? That never got explained. Fred,
No.
Bam Bam, and Wilma. What? Wilma? Taz has no hair and he's an egg shape. You could have made a dinosaur joke about him being an egg, or Dino's egg, not Wilma. That made no sense.
I don't if it's I don't
And
get
then
the reference if it
Jake,
seemed like an inside joke or something there.
Huh.
Yeah.
Jake just continued to ramble through the promo. I didn't get it. And Taz was trying to bring it back, but it was like Jake was cutting him off with these one-liners that were not funny.
Yeah.
Except for the us gentlemen, or you have to wait for us gentlemen, and he said we'll be waiting a long time or something like that. Or that was the only funny line out of Jake.
I feel like this is just one of the not unfortunate but just sort of different parts of AEW that I've just slowly kind of adjusted to in the year or so that we've been getting Dynamite here, is that there is some polish that sometimes is not on stuff like this because it's probably just written in the backstage script. Jake goes out, Taz interrupts, and they kind of promo on each other. And they're giving them the freedom to do what they can. And it's on them
I believe that,
to have not prepared. And I totally believe that because of what you see here. And because it doesn't have the polish of something that is worked out and scripted and planned between the two of them, you end up with stuff like this. So it's not always going to work. Sometimes you can get a real hot promo like the first time Jake came in and he had something prepared and obviously and something ready and a willing participant in the rebuttal there with Cody. Whereas, him and Taz just seem to be more butting heads, not letting each other sort of have time to breathe. And in the long run, when it just seemed like it was an excuse to let you know more and more people are going to be in the Casino Battle Royal, I mean, it's fine, but there maybe are better ways of sort of getting that point across.
I think I'd have much rather seen a moment in the Battle Royal itself where we get Lance Archer on one side of the ring, tosses a guy out and backs towards the center. Meanwhile, Brian Cage tosses a man out of the other side of the ring and backs towards the center, and they back into each other and turn towards each other, and almost reminiscent of Hogan and the Warrior in the 1990 Royal Rumble, where you didn't see the conflict between them coming until it was teased at that moment. And that I'd have rather seen that than this almost foreshadowing by Taz bringing out the other monster to face off with the other monster. And I have absolutely no problem with the heel versus heel stuff. We blur lines between face and heels in AEW, and we don't really follow whether you're a face or a heel means who you should or shouldn't want to face. I love that. I'm not no problem at all with that aspect. But I find it difficult to understand why Taz would bring his guy out. Just why would you want to invite that fight right now? It's not like Cage has got a better record or done anything better than Lance has. You're in the same boat. You both came in, debuted with a loss to the champ, and are working around rebuilding, which Lance has rebuilt now. Brian's still at that point of trying to show why he was as dangerous as he should have been seen, right? So, I don't know. I just, something about the whole thing seemed a little bit forced, rushed, and ugly to me. And if you want to get to Brian and Lance, fine. But I'd have rather seen it done in that other fashion than this just felt a little bit strange.
Yeah, to me, it didn't seem as much as they were, like, again, maybe down the road we're going to get the Brian and Lance type matchup when the feud sort of happens, or if they were just leading to the eventual clash of these two in the Battle Royal, taking each other out to then lead to a matchup later on. But I think you just got to go about it in a different way, just trying to let people know that, to me, it was just sort of setting up the Battle Royal. Like, we're going to get some different sort of stuff happening for All Out. And I think this comes down to the little bit that we discussed on the actual Wednesday night AEW or our LowBlowRadio show that we did on the radio this week, where we talk about they're just limited with time here. They have like 4 hours basically to get everyone hyped and ready for All Out, coming off of Saturday as well, and stuff like the Battle Royal that hasn't been talked about. Now you just have 2 weeks to let your audience know the people you can anticipate to see in there that aren't just the sort of random enhancement guys, or like some of the other times where it felt like the only people talked about were like MJF and Hangman, so you kind of knew those were going to be the kind of two guys at the end, or that this is maybe leaving your options a little more broadly open, and we can get to that later on when more guys were announced. But
for sure, I'll agree with that as well. I think that this feels more like one of the older Royal Rumbles in that sense, where they're leading me down this path of, oh, you know what, I could see one of these guys, or I could see one of Kingston's boys, or maybe it will be somebody out of the blue that I don't even know's in it yet.
No,
so
sure.
I like that.
We also got a little vignette about Thunder Rosa and Shida, their match coming up at All Out. Speaking of All Out.
Good video.
This is a great video. Yeah, if you were not familiar with Thunder Rosa, you got some fantastic footage from her. If you were somewhat familiar with her, even just a little bit in the NWA, hearing Billy Corgan put her over, as well as the opportunity for the NWA Women's Champion to take on the AEW Women's Champion was just, he puts it over so perfect. You can tell this guy gets wrestling. He's a fan of wrestling. I hope he's there on the 25th. I think that always just helps push things over a little bit more too. And yeah, really, really pumped for this matchup.
Little surprised that it was only his name in the corner, because that left it ambiguous for some people to actually wonder, is that the same Billy Corgan that sang with those Smashing Pumpkin guys? So I was surprised it wasn't like stick him up full facial of Billy, because he's obviously did this promo for the show. This wasn't Billy talking for something else and we're allowed to use the recording.
True.
So yeah, real NWA footage. Billy Corgan, the current NWA president, talking on AEW programming about a champion versus champion, one title on the line matchup. But still, it's a big deal. And this, back again, I said it before, maybe it doesn't seem to sound as big a deal as Flair coming out with 10 pounds of gold, but it is along the same lines of that. This is the current NWA Women's Champion coming to AEW to defend. The only difference is it's with the blessing of that promotion, as opposed to I'm stabbing them in the back and leaving with their belt because they got my 10 grand.
That's right. So, no, I think this, again, like maybe doesn't have quite as big a feel, but it could. The more they kind of do vignettes like this, push these two to get you ready and amped up for this matchup, I think that it could definitely escalate and elevate both titles. So fantastic to see what they're doing here with the women's division and more. Way more interested in
Shida and this match now than 3 weeks ago when she was talking with that terrible announcer guy, saying, I need a challenge and.
Where she just sort of felt like she's kind of lost in the wind while they were figuring out the Britt Baker, Big Swole stuff. She sort of just feels lost in the wind. They were doing the tournament, and she's just kind of waiting for something. And yeah, this was well worth the wait, I would say.
Well worth the wait.
Excited to see Thunder Rosa and Shida finally have their matchup. We finally got a little clip from MJF as he was getting ready to come out to the ring for the contract signing with Jon Moxley to finally see if he is going to ban the paradigm shift for their matchup at All Out on September 25th.
This was fantastic. Fantastic. MJF's promo itself, the calling him the one-trick pony. I'm crazy Jon Moxley with Dean Ambrose, obviously, at the time. And but he said, but you are good. You are a badass. But then he did pick apart exactly like, I'm not going outside the ring. Because that is what you do. You're just a weapons freak. You just like to smash me with the guardrail, use the ring posts, use the aprons, because you grew up studying Sandman and New Jack, John Zandon. Like that was great, the roll call. And then my guys, hot garbage. I studied Buddy Rogers, Ernie Ladd, and Tully Blanchard. Like that was to me, I thought that was foreshadowing to the nth degree, because why? Of all the people you could have thrown in there, Harley Race you could have dropped, Larry Zbyszko, Mongo McMichael, and he decides to go with Tully Blanchard instead. That shocked me. So I thought that to me, that meant something. We were just talking before we started recording, and your theory is just as valid, I think, because that is AEW, and that is some of these guys. MJF is a bit of a master troll. So did he drop that line to get someone like me excited for something that is never going to happen or intended to be, but for me to say, maybe because he said Tully.
Yes, I think that's exactly what it is, because he knows people like you will mark out for it. But it could be the other way. That's the glory and nice thing of AEW, and I think that's the fun thing of MJF in particular. This could easily be that over the last year or less that he's known Tully here in AEW, that he's made an impact in his life, helped him along the way, and that he just wanted to pay homage to someone that has helped him more currently in referencing some of those old titles. Who knows the reason that he dropped the Tully name? I think that's that ambiguousness in something like that, leans to discussion, right? It helps you sort of not be like, he didn't just name the typical names, right?
It's a sales job. It's for him trying to sell Tully Blanchard in the vein of those wrestlers. Tully Blanchard is no Ernie Ladd. He is no original Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers. Tully Blanchard was never recognized as a fantastic singles wrestler by anybody. But he was a tag team.
He was a television champion.
He was Not as much as Arn was. Like, even Arn Anderson held the TV title longer than he did and was a better singles wrestler than Tully Blanchard.
Well, everyone interprets. I think, like we say, wrestling is open to interpretation, and maybe Tully was like someone he watched when he was younger, or that he just caught his matches, his match style and stuff like that. Look, I mean, matter of opinion here. You're not going to change mine. I think he's trolling you because it's MJF. But hey, I could be wrong. We'll wait and see.
It could be. It's an interesting name to drop, regardless, and use. It was an interesting choice. But it wasn't until he dropped Dean's hot little wife that Moxley got upset and got up. And then he got the microphone and told the dickwad lawyer to sit down. Flex Magazine, the Wardlord, to step back. And then he went into a promo, which was also good and right along his style. I'm really looking forward to this match. He signs the contract, and then that's when he lets him know that they missed page 17 because they weren't paying attention. And that
I think before we get to that part of it, I liked like when you were mentioning before, like the fact that MJF was pointing out that he likes to be, you know, the hardcore style, the outside of the ring, that kind of stuff. And then I like that he kind of threw that back in his face, like, well, then you're just forcing me to get creative. Find out what I can do to every limb on your body. Find out how quickly I can choke you out. And so that stuff he's already done, right? Like he choked out Jake Hager. He's, you know, shown that he doesn't have to just rely on the physical stuff. Yes, it has helped in some matches, but it hasn't been reliant in others. So I think there's you're really feeling like, are we going to get a creative, different finish from Jon Moxley? Is MJF finally got his comeuppance by taking away the most lethal weapon from Jon Moxley? No, I think this little thing has just elevated this match to the nth degree. So yes, you mentioned there the 17th page added to the contract, teasing the guys that they hadn't fully read it. And yes, next week, Jon Moxley is going to get his warm-up match against Mark Sterling, the lawyer.
Your favorite lawyer.
Yes, my favorite lawyer. I will say my favorite lawyer in wrestling. I hope he shows up, because if he doesn't, MJF will not get his title shot at all.
Yes.
So
interesting stipulation. To ensure they get the match.
Yeah, I think this was a long while ago, and you'd have to go like deep cuts into your thing. But when they were still doing the like 2 people versus Braun monster matches on Raw, where they still weren't sure what to do with Braun Strowman, Mark Sterling was in one of those. So he can job for a big guy pretty well, or job for somebody, like put them over. So I think it'll be funny to see him bump around and look like a mess here for Moxley.
Oh, he's going to be doing a lot of that next Wednesday. Reckon a regular night next Wednesday. It's going to be weird.
Is it? No, I think it's Thursday again.
They were telling us Wednesday. Oh, snap. They told us all night that fucking JR.
Maybe
why do I trust Ross? I don't know.
Weeks that were confused, right? Like it's Saturday and then 2 Thursdays. I think was the original announcement. And unless things have changed, I know schedules are all over the place. So maybe we are back on Wednesday.
They said it was going to be next Wednesday, but yeah. Well, if it changes, if it doesn't. Whenever Dynamite's on, the next day, you'll see this.
Exactly. We'll be here nonetheless. The next matchup, we had the Lucha Bros teaming with the Butcher and the Blade again.
Well, we had... Did you see the Santana and Ortiz?
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah.
They had their little skit. They just apologized that their mom wasn't in the van when they wrecked it. That's fucking hardcore.
No, poor Sue.
What a thing to say. Sue didn't do nothing. She just drove into their work.
That apology one way or another.
Yeah. I think they're going to end up apologizing. That's the feeling I get.
That or Sue is joining Proud and Powerful.
Ooh. Sue is member of the Inner Circle. Sue!
Sue!
Transform!
Nothing would upset Orange and the best friends more than Sue joining the Inner Circle.
I guess they need a female member now. The Dark Order's got 2, so they better start catching up.
No doubt. Yeah, everyone's going to play a bit of catch-up here. Anyways, let's get to this next matchup.
Super Red on a pole match.
I don't know if we'll get her up there. That seems unfair. I mean, they can't put everybody on a pole. So anyway, we had the Lucha Bros, like I was saying, teaming with the Butcher and the Blade to take on Joey Janela with Sonny Kiss, Brian Pillman. Hey, who the fuck is Griff Garrison here, showing up on AEW Dynamite, not in the crowd, but in the ring with these guys. Man, what a big showing here for Griff Garrison. He opened the match huge too. They're putting him over that he looks like a Von Erich in there, trying to run wild as he could on one of the Lucha Bros, which instantly led to a big brawl, taking everybody to the outside. This whole match was, Lucha Bros definitely getting the Lucha Bros and Butcher like getting the better of this other 4-man team.
Yeah, Phoenix and Pentagon looked as usual, they're nice flippy selves and very violent with their lucha aggressions. I was impressed with the Butcher tonight. I think they've done a very good job over the last few weeks of presenting him as not just tougher and more endurable than he was, or more durable, sorry, than he was before, but he's a bit smarter than he was being presented originally.
Yeah,
so
I agree with that.
They've taken these guys from where I think we were supposed to see him as your job level side, and now they're being elevated to mid card and steadily climbing. Their momentum's behind them, but he looks better, and he doesn't look as shit as he did. And you told me he's been around for a long time. I know believe he's a veteran.
Well, he's not.
So I'm sure
the Blade is the veteran. He's certainly. I mean, Butcher's only been around for 3 years. He's green in the business.
Christ.
He's learning. He's coming into it. He's a professional guitar player, not a professional wrestler. So it's a new trait that he is learning. But he's got a great partner to help him along. The Blade is much more veteran in the ring here. But yes, I think they're getting Butcher some more in-ring time, getting him some. Character development, I think, is helping, and especially in-ring stuff. They can work on the outside stuff after, but yeah, I think the green nature you sort of want to. I think a lot of the young guys, they want a job, they want to make the other guys look good, but that him being a big guy, it wasn't helping the character. So no, I think him finding a much better big guy footing here is helping them as a tag team as well as him as an individual.
Sonny Kiss was well protected in this match. I don't think he took any offense. He came in, he did his spots, he looked like $1 million, and he got the hell out of there to Janela, who came in and took the train of clotheslines in the corner. Yes. And that was kind of the swing point back. But I don't think Sonny Kiss took shit. And he looked good doing it. But
he got the hot tag back in, but Janela just took the beating for a majority of this match.
Yeah. So that was interesting. The heels, a lot of it was pick and pick as well, which just kind of bummed me out at the end. And then Kingston's team won it at the end. All 5 of them are going to be in the Battle Royal. Did he name the group Jacket 720, or is that something I don't understand? Like a phrase I don't know. That's how he closed his promo. Jacket 720. I'm like, okay, is that a thing? There's a lot of lingo I have no idea about. I don't watch television, so.
Me too. I don't even know if it's television reference. I don't think Eddie Kingston probably watches a lot of television either, but I think it's something from.
I'm down with the gang. If that's the name of the gang.
New York that I do not understand. Okay. So I think it regardless of the stuff I get or don't get, he is a tough motherfucker, and I don't want to fuck with that dude.
And I love his promo. He
comes off like a tough ass motherfucker here.
He comes off as one of the absolute realest things in the sport, right? Yeah, I would totally like a New Jack level of real.
Yeah.
I believe he wants to beat the shit out of guys, and he wants to see his friends win titles and beat the shit out of guys because he's excellent.
No, I think adding all 5 of these guys once again. Now you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 with these 5, a bunch of guys now that you're like, man, any of these, I would be happy with them winning this all-out Battle Royal, depending on where that winner goes from there, and just makes it them all just seem to have a reason to be in there as well as all fighting for it. Like these guys seem to be okay with fighting each other. The winner was going to be moving forward and getting something big, but they're also probably going to help each other as well. So yeah, I think rather than just throwing everyone into a battle royal for no reason, giving a little bit of necessity to be in there is definitely helpful to help a matchup like that.
Yeah, I am interested a little bit in the booking logic now that's going to go into the battle royal itself. When you've got 5 guys. Cage and Ricky Starks are working together. There are going to be other people who are going to have to feel the necessity to pull friends together in that ring at the start of the match. So they've got to work their way through that somehow.
Yeah.
I think it would be lazy at this point to have, why is Butcher and Blade fighting the Pentagon brothers? I thought they were brothers now. Well, because it's an anything goes and they all want the win. I think that would be lazy at this point because they're obviously Kingston wants them to fight as a unit. They're in this as a group together, so it would be for the greater good. We're going to help. So we're just 4 of us in the ring. Then we can fight it out amongst ourselves. You wouldn't do it until then.
For sure.
So anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I do think it only makes sense in AEW. If I showed up there as a wrestler, I got to pull 3 friends together as quick as possible, man. Everyone's got buddies here. Everyone's in a little group. I can't fight alone. I'm an idiot if I try. So this was perfect. Story sense, everything. It makes a lot of sense. I like that.
No, totally. Especially the more as factions build and grow, you see some of these guys having to find each other and become more of a tight-knit group. So moving on, we had the Dark Order bringing a casket out for Brody Lee's championship celebration. They were doing the burial of Cody Rhodes while they brought out this casket. Evil Uno cutting a pretty good promo there, putting over, yes, the casket, the burial of Cody, looking inside, seeing what you thought was Cody's body, but ended up being Preston, telling us that Stu Grayson has bought a nice new car. They're all been celebrating all weekend. For some reason, Mr. Brody has bought like 7 lawnmowers. Someone, if you are listening to this, get in the comments and tell me what this is a reference to, because I don't get the lawnmowers. But
yeah,
that kind of took me out of this a little bit, because they were so prominent, and I was just like, why are they on? Like, if they were just 7 lawnmowers lined up in the parking lot, and you just saw it and you came back, okay. But there were 2 on stage. There were 2. They seemed so specific to only be referenced once, and then to be in the background the entire promo. It took me out of it a little.
Because they don't, like, their only relevance to burial would be cutting grass at a cemetery. There is no, and even that's so loose, right? Like, yeah, I don't get it. I didn't quite.
Well,
I don't quite know
what didn't know. He was like, are they starting a mower company?
Starting a new company?
Like,
yeah.
Like, when even your commentary crew doesn't have an explanation, it just seems like, did they just have these and they were like, dress the stage up as something? Like.
But as Brody said, this is full of symbolism in this place and this bit. And I thought,
obviously must have had some sort of symbolism.
Right from the beginning of the segment, when Brody was finished with high-fiving his team, as he angrily walked and motioned towards the announce desk and told Schiavone to get the hell in the ring, to the suit he was wearing and his manners, I thought we're back to Brody playing Vince McMahon from his first couple weeks. Said, all you little indie wrestlers, no more time on my watch, Vince. What else he said? He had another great line that I guess I missed writing down the other great line, but I love the way that he shut up his own guy, that he got sick of chanting for him as well, because doesn't want to listen to the fans. So he shuts up his own guy, introduces Anna Jay as number 99, the great one. I thought that was a wicked Gretzky reference.
Oh, right, yeah, sure.
I don't know why you referencing Wayne Gretzky. I guess Brody Lee's a huge hockey fan, but I could only assume someone is, because that's Wayne Gretzky.
At this point, I don't get the numbering, though. If we're all of a sudden, like, 99.
He's 99, the great one. He called him the great one.
Well, I get that, but again, like, if it was just, again, if the night was just, or the Dark Order's just references now, I'm a little, this didn't do it for me. This promo, I wanted a different new Dark Order coming out here, and it just seemed like,
I thought this,
I don't know, the Vince McMahon thing was never really doing it for me, and now that it's sort of a little bit back, I don't know.
I felt he entrenched it with it. We're the hottest act. That was the next line I did have it in after. We're the hottest act in pro wrestling. I am the hottest act in pro wrestling. It just, to me, it's solidified. Yeah, he's Vince with his crew in AEW. And we'll see it now. We'll continue to roll now that he has the title belt and he has some of the power. Because for that first little while, after the intro, it really calmed down because they didn't get anything. So now we'll see where it goes from here. Dustin and QT finally coming out, but they were quickly disposed of. Had enough of watching the burial, I suppose, of Cody and family. And Scorpio Sky came out. And then Matt Cardona, which you had called, him being the guy that would. So he came out as well and helped Scorpio finally clear the ring of the Dark Order and not let them back in. And I guess we'll see a tag match or something next week. Did they end up making an announcement on one? There was one match for next week.
At All Out, they said. It's going to be... the Natural Nightmares with Sky and Cardona against Dark Order. I don't know which particular 4, but 4 members of the Dark Order. Yeah, even the Brawl beatdown, again, the Dark Order were looking big, strong, top of their game, and then Brody turns his back for 1 second, and then Matt Cardona's like, "Oh, sweetie's not in the ring. I'm gonna go take everybody out." Like, it just seemed like a pussy move. Like, why did you wait for Brody to leave and then just for Brody to come back? And like,
exactly,
Colt not doing anything. This whole segment seemed a little discombobulated. To me, for doing something so big to Cody last week and it being such a huge moment that we ended TV on, and with Brody looking so strong. So to me, I thought that this was the start of another story. We're going to get the next chapter of the Brody Lee story here the next night on Dynamite, because it was like, well, who's the next challenger? This opens so much up for Brody Lee. And then he just kind of came out and was like, I'm top of the mountain. I can yell and scream, and I look like Vince again. And look at my lawnmowers, and it's like, what? So I don't know. To me, I thought they were going somewhere, like going somewhere. To me, it just felt like, oh, we're just gonna get Brody in a 4-man tag match at All Out. Cool.
Some interesting things. I thought it was interesting the way that Colt was in the ring and celebrating with the team with his shirt on, but wasn't around for any of the beatdown stuff. I thought it was very interesting that Cardona obviously was deliberately held from coming in until Brody had left the ring. So it's stuff like that I don't think they do anything by accident. I don't think there's anything that just so happened to happen. So this is stuff that down the road we'll see play out as wise, I'm hoping. And I get the feeling Scorpio Sky or Matt will be the first challenger for Brody now. Look, to me, I thought it was going to be Scorpio, and that was what was so surprising when, here's Cardona now that Brody's left the ring. What? The tough guy left? Now you'll come in because it's the 4 jobbers left behind. Okay, Zach. I see your game, Mr. Ryder. So anyway, I thought it was. I'm still willing to, and again, I think we do take the Brody and the Vince thing different because I love it. I
no, for sure.
Think that parody on it is hysterical, and I'm glad to see more of that came back in tonight. I'd love to find out that the boys rib Vince a lot backstage for cutting his grass every day or something like that.
Sure.
And that's why there were 7 lawnmowers
for no reason. Yeah, like if that's the
case. There has to be something, and I'm hoping anyway. But I'm willing to give it a bit of a thing and let it go forward. I mean, I'm almost more happy that someone didn't come out tonight and be like, now it's me next week as your new, because I think Cody's got to come back and at least have a rematch for the belt and at least get something right, because Cody's off filming a TV show right now. Nobody told JR, Shivani, or Jericho, but that's what he's doing. So he'll be away. He'll be back in like 4 weeks. He's fine.
For sure, but I think we didn't need someone to be the challenger. Like he said, I'm putting a squash to the open challenges. I'm the new thing, the new threat here. You're gonna all have to work your way up to fight me, and that's what I wanted to see. Like him, I'm the new king of the mountain. I want to start. All these people to start working their way up to me and all that kind of stuff. And it just didn't seem like it was building that. It seems like, well, now Scorpio and them have already gonna kind of get their hands on him, and then they'll get a title shot later on, and like. Yeah, to me, it just felt like he was putting himself on a very high pedestal, and now is just dropped again slightly. But again, if it's just me not taking to the Vince thing enough or whatever it is. But yeah, I still enjoy the character for the most part, and curious to see what happens next going down the road with Mr. Brody Lee here, because I think him as champion has a lot of potential for some different types of feuds that we weren't already getting.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so.
Yeah. Sure.
Next, we got one of the interviewers and Matt and Nick Jackson all found Hangman Page at the bar at the same time. Why they didn't all think to go there 20 minutes ago if they were all looking for him, I don't know. It shouldn't have taken any of them that long to figure it out where he was. But, great promo from the Bucks, who were obviously incensed and still super angry, super emotional. Smashed a drink out of his hand. Tell Hangman you're nothing but a drunk. And he is out of the Elite.
Yes, this is a very, very interesting story thing moving forward. The Elite have diminished their numbers significantly. You would say they're basically down to just the original 3 at this point, outside of Cody tentatively being Elite or Matt Hardy tentatively being Elite, those type of deals. You seem to be left with just Hangman or Kenny and the Young Bucks here. And yes, they seem.
And how's Kenny going to react? We didn't get to see any of that tonight.
Seeing him on the show at all is very, very interesting. Where this leads down the road for both of them and how they react next week, I think should be very interesting with the Young Bucks having a match next week, no real talk of what how Kenny is going to react or how him and Hangman will get along after something like this. Hangman, not really giving up the answers that the Bucks are looking for. They also didn't really seem willing to want to listen to Hangman at this point either. Pretty upset and done with. Him doing something like this and taking them out of this matchup without a lot of explanation. And we're just sort of moving on with the demise of the Elite, which I think was a smart way to start off with AEW. I think having them all big, huge, getting over on everybody, there was just going to be way too much backlash on that kind of stuff. And I think you're getting people like Hangman over more so now by breaking the team up than you ever would have just having them all be top stars right at the gate.
Yeah, for sure. And they have been top stars anyway. They just didn't
No,
win the
yeah,
belts, right? So, no, I
just
agree.
in a different way.
I think they balanced out their spots as executives and wrestlers really, really well. And I would argue that Cody had as well. I don't think that him having the TNT title run or how those matches went, I never felt that was nepotistic move or a Triple H-esque move. So,
Nope.
Christ, you could argue it was all right for Trips to do it in several of the instances it was done in WWF as well. So I don't have as big a problem with that as some fans do for whatever.
That's fair.
But I definitely think these guys have played it really well with the way they balanced it out so that that impression isn't taken by the people that would take it.
Yeah.
And Hangman definitely has seemed to be the one that's gotten the most elevation out of the four, right? I mean,
oh, yeah.
he won the initial Battle Royal to challenge Jericho for the first title. He won the World Tag Titles with Hangman or with Omega. He looks better than he did coming in to AEW's now, I think. So
yeah, no, 100%. That was their plan. They wanted to elevate everybody up to the same kind of level so that everyone could just keep growing and building. There was no hurt on the Young Bucks by taking a back seat for this entire year. They didn't need to hold the tag belts right away. They didn't need any of that stuff because it's going to be just as much more important and better when they eventually get them down the road. So we'll get there when we get there. Moving on, we had Big Swole finally getting a chance to get her hands, maybe partially at least, close to Britt Baker while she took on the three of them, Britt Baker, Reba, as well as Penelope Ford, in a triple threat handicap match here.
And Kip Sabian at ringside. It was practically 4-on-1.
She had nothing helping her out here. She didn't even bring her little Swole out to help. So,
and we're told right at the start of the match that when Swole wins, she's going to get to pick any match she likes going up against Britt Baker in a 1-on-1. So we knew that Swole was going to win the match anyway, but it was an ugly spot right at the opening bell with Penelope Ford. That was actually this whole match. Thank God for the storyline because the work was fucking awful. Right?
Yeah, I guess I don't want to say too much bad. Like, I hate to be too negative in these kind of things. Reba, unfortunately, just does not have a lot of great in-ring experience. She's very slow, and you can tell she's just trying to not hurt anybody. But in that, it doesn't help the match flow very well, especially due to the fact that Swole is so fast. I think Penelope could have been a little better on her own. She was lost in the mix here a little bit, and then that didn't help with their spots. And a few just kind of sloppy kind of things, the sort of delay on the Frankensteiner, the delay on the back body drops and stuff like that. But Swole did her best to look really, really strong, taking out Penelope, taking out Kip Sabian to eventually get herself the win. I mean, even the crutches spot was kind of slow and very telegraphed and all that kind of stuff. But again, it just seems like Reba's just trying not to hurt anybody, and I get that. And maybe she's kind of thrown into something a little too much too soon. But it is what it is. This is what I mean. Sometimes if they want to have more people on TV, but they're just not ready, these are the kind of things that are going to happen. They're going to have to sort of work the kinks out a little bit to get down to something that flows and plays a little smoother. So, yes, Big Swole gets the win here. Obviously, eventually fending off the rest of these hooligans and people keeping from Britt Baker. What kind of matchup do you think she's going to pick for All Out?
Hopefully not a wrestling one.
I think Britt and Swole could have a decent wrestling match. Like, I don't.
You think so?
I'm worried about that. Oh yeah.
I'm thinking something like a no holds barred or a brawl of some kind of brawl or some kind of.
I think a cage match. I think that makes the most sense.
It does make something that keeps Reba on the outside.
It keeps.
But why you'd need to keep Reba on the outside? You'd almost want Reba in the match, right? I'll pin her easier than I'll pin you.
I'll get the win. On the inside here, right? Yeah, keep her from running away or something like that. And
her headbutt, Swole's headbutts look fucking phenomenal. I love the way that looks. It's devastating. It sounds like she actually catches him right on the jaw.
Oh yeah, her hair flies. It's fantastic. Yeah,
I thought that looks really good. And yeah, let's hope that match is better.
I've seen great matches out of Big Swole, and I've seen great matches out of Britt Baker. So I can't see why the two of them wouldn't put one on together. I think in this situation, it just didn't have a lot. Obviously, in 3 minutes, they didn't have a lot of time. They had a lot of spots they wanted to try and get through. And I mean, a lot of this I felt like came down. Reba is just not up to the caliber that some of the other women are, and it tends to take everyone else kind of down a peg in that situation. And this was sort of again, where the wheels, not the wheels trying to fall off, but the momentum maybe started to slow down quite a bit on the show here.
Yeah, I agree.
At least for me, yeah, for sure. So yeah, we got the finish there. Swole moving forward to her match at All Out, and then we move on to our main event. We had Sammy again with his cards during the picture-in-picture. Sorry,
we had the offer from the Dark Order to Tia Conti first as well.
Oh, was that before? Okay, I thought.
Yeah, they were in the middle of running down next week's card. This is part of my thing though with JR, where he was all over the fucking place in the run up to this segment and through this segment. And some of that I also do think is some of this fucking picture-in-picture bullshit. And they don't know which breaks they're doing it on, which ones they're not, which break is going to be all picture-in-picture, which break is pick-and-pick running into a fucking other break, which isn't pick-and-pick. Like, settle on a fucking thing and just do it. Like, it's distracting as a viewer. And then in certain like in this next match, there were several sections of they were running the match in the pick and pick. It wasn't just standing around in the ring and clapping and stuff. Like, so yeah, we ran down next week's card. This is part of where they were telling us next week was Wednesday night again. So ran down next week's card.
Maybe things have changed and gone back. So
in the middle of that, we had the Dark Order come to ringside with Anna Jay offering a folder with the join us to Tia Conti, who is her tag partner for the tag tournament on YouTube. And she appeared to accept it. She gave her a big hug. So she's thinking and still afterwards looked thoughtful again. But she gave her a hug, so probably in. And then we got sign guy Sammy Guerrero coming down to the ring. And they, again, with the timing on it, like they can't tell him how much time he's got even before the break's over. So his cards are all over the place. And he ends up looking stupid. But we've heard him talking to the production guy. It's not his fault. He feels as dumb as we know he looks. And he knows he looks. So the whole thing doesn't work. So stop doing it. Like, just please give up on that.
Yeah.
Then we got the match itself. And the match itself, I liked it. I thought this was a great, but I agree with you as well. It wasn't a main event.
Yeah. I think that's what hurt it. The spot on the card is what hurt this the most. They have built up quite the repertoire now of AEW Dynamite main events. Not all like 5 stars by any means, but all usually very entertaining, very engaging, and very worthy of that spot on the card. And not to say that Matt or Sammy aren't worthy of this place, but
I'd say that because there's at least one main eventer in the main event, and here you've got 2 stars, 2 upper mid carders, but neither one of these guys is a main eventer bona fide yet.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. They were misplaced in the card.
Nope, I think I feel the same way. They did it as much to get this feud as much heat going behind it and that kind of stuff. But I think, and again with the time restraints, a main event that's only 6 minutes, does it in a tables match that's only 6 minutes just feels too rushed. They felt like they were already grabbing tables. I mean, I get it. You're grabbing tables instantly. There's not a time to really schmoz. The only way to win is to put someone through a table. So all you're going to try to do is put someone through a table. So I guess in 6 minutes, in that sense, I don't need a 15-minute match maybe, but that's, again, I think that's placement. This didn't need to be the main event if it was just a 6-minute tables match and just to get Sammy over. So I think that the placement was the only thing that kind of hurt it, but no, I enjoyed the 450 splash that Sammy did to the outside that busted himself open was nasty.
That was really nice. Hardy dumping him out of the ring right at the start of the match was ugly. Look, that almost looked like the receipt from the chair shot from a couple of weeks ago. It's like, oh, I'll dump you out of the ring. Oh, yeah, I'll drop you nice and gentle. Like, threw him like a sack of fucking potatoes. That was awesome. I really like that.
No, these two seem to work well together with a bit of, like, Matt being a little slower, but Sammy really having the speed and the adrenaline in his favor. But sometimes it counteracts because he goes a little too fast, too hard, and Matt's able to see it coming, but maybe sometimes Matt's a little too slow. I think they're great partners in there and working well to put on a match. I was definitely impressed by the match itself. But yeah, when I say that the momentum sort of teeters, it's just, sometimes just placement. So I think it's fun for these two in this matchup. The back and forth was great. The sort of, you thought they were going to get a finish through a table and then they wouldn't. They'd each go through it. They took a ton of damage each, which again sometimes is hard too, or they've each gone through multiple tables by this point, but they just keep getting back up. You want some selling of a table. It should mean a fairly significant thing, but they each individually went through tables before the finish even happened. So it the wear and tear was certainly showing on Matt, so maybe that was the story of it too, that he could only take so much, whereas Sammy was maybe a little bit more enduring there in that sense. He could take a bit more punishment because, Matt wasn't able to climb to the top to hit the big kind of splash or drop that he would have when he had Sammy on the table. Sammy was able to counter and get the superplex and put Matt Hardy through the table to get the finish and the big win here. You see the end of this feud with these two, or you see them moving on?
Oh, I think they'll have another match or two from here. I don't think this felt like the end of it. I think Matt he'll still want revenge and redemption, and probably should still get it at the end of the day. I think as long as Sammy looks good in a match that he loses to him at the end of the day, he'll come out a winner from it. Like tonight, they both look good. I don't care so much that Sammy won the match. They both came out of it looking fine. Right? I think for all the reasons you defined, it was poor placement on the card. It was nothing wrong with the match itself or the action that these two guys do. And I like seeing them together. I think it looks like Matt's decided Sammy's his protege, kind of behind the scenes, and he wants to work with him. He had chosen that from before the issues popped up that meant Sammy was suspended for a while, and they've decided they're going to keep going with it. And I do think they work well together. I think Sammy, if there's anyone you can learn from in wrestling, it's going to be Matt Hardy. So
for sure, and he seems to be a willing participant in that. And they, I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe more down the road from these two. And happy to see what comes next from them. Stopping this match, I knew we had a little bit of time left when I'm looking at my clock as I was timing there. So I assumed we were probably going to get something with Jericho. And yes, we did, as Orange Cassidy's music hit and he ambushed him from out of nowhere. JR was completely caught off guard. Probably, I don't even know if he was told about this spot happening, because him and Tony definitely seemed very surprised by the fact that Orange dove across the table, took Jericho out as they brawled behind him, brawled out into the center of the stage. Tony and JR are trying to do their best to send you off, but yes, it was a whole lot of chaos as the AEW went off the air tonight. Jericho's going to get a warm-up match next week against Joey Janela, which I think is really fun. You'd assume Orange will probably get involved in some way at the end of that match as well. But the Mimosa matchup thing is going to be interesting. I think we talked enough about the stipulations and stuff last week with that, but we'll just sort of have to wait and see what happens here with that. And I don't know what to say. I think I'm fine with the Orange and Jericho feud. Maybe it's just not as hot to me as maybe it seems to them or everybody else. Maybe it is the biggest, hottest thing to end your show with, but I don't know. If I was trying to rebook this show, there was no reason that the end could, even if you did the Hardy match and then ended with the contract signing, it was exciting enough, even without a finish, that the promos and stuff, I don't know. You still want to end with wrestling. It's really hard. I'm not sure how I would have rebooked it.
Either the contract sign, any one of the contract signing, the MJF Moxley contract signing, or the opening gauntlet match, or the Brody Lee spot, the whole Dark Order spot could have ended the show.
Yeah.
Right? So I think in the hindsight of thing, you've ended up, and maybe it is on their end again, if they're constantly trying to elevate. So maybe in their mind, we put Sammy and Matt in the main event, ergo they are now main eventers because we put them there. We're telling you they are, and we're closing it with Jericho and Cassidy officially. So we told you now before, Cassidy's a main event player, he's a main eventer.
Yeah.
So now we're supposed to be seeing these guys as elevated up a bit more than we actually are. I don't know if that's then my fault that I'm missing it, or is that their fault for assuming that I'm not in a place I'm not? And maybe it's a little bit of both, or maybe there's no blame to go from that, and that's just life, and we go on. I don't know. So I definitely agree that I felt like it was a bit more of a lackluster show. Having said that, by the end of it, I looked at the clock. I was like, "Oh Christ, it's over already!" I didn't like it. 2 hours goes by really fast.
Yeah,
that can't be bad, right? So. No. Yeah, I feel like I don't want to feel like this nitpicky fucker that's just looking for things to bitch about. But I don't want to stand here every week and be like, "Oh my God, it's the best show ever." When don't they fucking put on the best show ever? I don't feel that way either. So I'll be honest, without being too much of a shitster or cheerleader, right? I know.
That's right.
How do you be in that middle ground?
We're trying to be neutral and just be fans and opinionated in that sense. It's not all going to be good. It's not all going to be bad. But you're going to find what works and what entertains you in all of that. Chris, I think that covers things for the blow by blow of this week. What do you think?
I think so. I don't have anything else. I get next week's we had the Santana and Ortiz will fight the best friends. We will get that apology one way or another. And the Young Bucks team with the Jurassic Express taking on Private Party and SCU. The winning team take on each other at All Out.
That's interesting, yeah.
So that's an interesting wrinkle in that as well. I think it'll be the Bucks and Jurassic Express.
I would imagine so, and I think they could have a fantastic match at All Out. Hopefully we don't get any more disturbances from Hangman Page. He can keep his hands to himself as he defends his title.
John Moxley versus your favorite lawyer next week as well.
That's right, Jericho and Joey. It should be fantastic when we're back here for Low Blow Radio Podcast Blow by Blow next time. All right, Chris, let everyone know where they can hear us.
You can hear us every Wednesday night live at 7 o'clock in Ontario, Canada on the River, 88.7 FM. If you don't live in Ontario, Canada, or you can't get FM 88.7, listen to it online at 887theriver.com or look in the archives folder.
.ca, it's Canada.
Oh, 887theriver.ca. It's Canada.
Perfect. And yes, here on YouTube, thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Get this video out there to your friends. Get in the comments. Let us know what you think of the product and things that we put up here on our YouTube page. And we will be back for another Low Blow Radio podcast next time. Maybe this weekend for Payback. We'll wait and see.
Oh, yeah, Payback.
Yeah,
Can't miss Payback.
Yeah, maybe some Rapid Blow. We'll see you then.